What's going on, guys? Welcome into the NFL betting show. Gentlemen, it's bittersweet. It's our last show of the year, which also means it is Super Bowl week. I'm fired up. I know you guys are. We got a lot of fun stuff for you guys as far as this game goes. Super Bowl 58 in Las Vegas. I'm going to be there. I'm pumped. I know you guys are going to not necessarily be there. Just have to brag for a second. But
rubbing it in. Oh, my goodness. Must be nice.
It's okay. It's okay. I'll make sure to send all the videos. I'll FaceTime you guys in from everywhere that I'm at. I mean, we'll have all the content. It's going to be a good time.
Have you been to Vegas before?
You know what? I went for family vacation. Well, family vacation, it was like one of the stops. We flew into Vegas. So I was just there for like a day in the summer. And then I went for work twice. So this is technically work, I guess, but it is the longest span of time I will be in Las Vegas. So I'm thinking I might just not go to the ATM and, keep everything safe in my bank accounts and just solely focus on the betting aspect of everything. No blackjack for me.
I mean, I dig it. There's lots of fun things to do in Vegas, and I don't mind a little bit of blackjack. So if you do go and you hit the roulette tables, hit me up. We got a couple numbers.
I'll let you know. I'll call you guys for the advice. Hey, look, here's the deal, though. We got 49ers. We got the Chiefs. I want you guys' opinion on this. Is this what we thought we would see in this Super Bowl when the season started however many months ago? Mike, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I did not think Kansas City was going to get this far. I've been impressed with them. I've doubted them every step along the way. But the problem is the other teams are making critical mistakes. Ravens are going to play them and not run the ball. And it's very hard to beat Patrick Mahomes. And the most impressive part of this Chiefs team has been the defense has really stepped up and given them a chance. Really battled well there against the Ravens and played well throughout against all the teams that they faced in their run here. So that's the thing. I did not think Chiefs were going to make it, but I've been impressed. It's very hard to knock out the champ, and they're going to find a way. And Travis Kelce has woken up 11 of 11 for over 100 yards last time. That's the key, is they do what they can do, and you don't take them out of their game.
Chris, I know you're still probably just a little upset about the Eagles, a little salty. I don't know if you've quite gotten over it yet. Okay, perfect. There we go. What are your thoughts on this matchup for Super Bowl 58?
I think it's going to be a fantastic Super Bowl. These two teams played each other a few years ago, and it was fantastic then, and I think it's going to be really good now. I did not think that Kansas City, at the start of the season, it's like, yeah, the Chiefs, Mahomes, right? I mean, Mahomes is doing things that is pretty historical. He's been to a ton of Super Bowls already, 6 years in the league, 6 AFC championship games already, Super Bowl appearance number 4 here, going for Super Bowl number 3, which is something that Tom Brady did, 3 Super Bowl appearances or wins in his first 6 years as well. But watching the Chiefs throughout the season, I just didn't believe in their offense. It's like they led the league in drops, and there was a disconnect. There were so many penalties. Travis Kelce looked like a lot slower than we've used to seeing. There was nobody that could step up at the wide receiver position. But over the last few weeks, we've seen Rashee Rice as a rookie take off. I don't think anybody's really surprised that the Niners are here. They were a pretty chalky pick for most people. Aaron Schatz was all over this. He liked the Niners from day one to go to the Super Bowl. And here they are. They haven't looked fantastic through the 2 wins to get to this point, but none of that matters. They got there. And I think it's going to be a really, really fun Super Bowl. And it may just come down to who has the football last.
Well, look, guys, the spread on this one, 2 points, 2.5 points, kind of bobbling a little bit back and forth. It's San Francisco that's favored to win this game against the spread. Look, technically KC's the home team, but I've been following all the content just like you guys have. Sounds like lots of 49ers fans are in Las Vegas. So this may actually feel more like a home game for the Niners, which doesn't necessarily come as a surprise, to be honest, just because of location and, how good that fan base is. But one of the things that I want to hit on, I know it's been a hot topic of discussion. This is a rematch of 2019. Obviously, different personnel on the field. That game total was 31-20, right? Chiefs took that one, 51 points. The total on this one right now, 47.5. Are we playing the over or the under? Mike, let's start with you.
Yeah, we're going under, and it's the biggest edge we have here at Armando Flaherty, the prop sides or totals for the big game. 10.1% edge, 63.6%, a probability of winning on the under 47.5, which makes sense. I think there's going to be a strong defensive game plan for both teams. Both teams had an advantage in DVOA on the ground. Christian McCaffrey against the Chiefs, Isaiah Pacheco against the Niners. That's what I think is going to be the focus. The Chiefs receivers have not been able to separate all year long except for Rashee Rice. I don't think the Niners are silly enough to let Travis Kelce have a monster game, so they're going to have a good defensive game plan. Spagnuolo's been great. It's still Brock Purdy, still a little question there. So the under makes sense to me, 47.5, Abby, which is against what we've seen in the playoffs. A lot of overs so far.
Yeah. Are you riding with them, Chris?
Yeah, I dig it. I like it a lot. I like, just the fact that San Fran plays at a pretty slow pace, using some of our pace tools and, seconds per snap. They like to slow things down. And I think what Mike said, like CMC, if you've watched the Niners over the past couple of games, like Purdy has struggled. And in that game against Green Bay, he certainly struggled. And then they started to give the ball to CMC, should have been the game plan right away, and it got them going, and they ran the rock. And the same thing could be said in the game against Detroit. So this KC defense is absolutely legit, which is another reason that I like the under. 4 points per game in the second half is what they've allowed on average over the last 8 second halves, 32 points total. Baltimore, 3 points in the second half against them. The Bills, 7. Miami, 0. You go back, there was another matchup against the Bills in the regular season, 6. So this is what I was talking about earlier. Like, not surprised that the Niners are here. They're the team that, shots picked, I picked to get to the Super Bowl. KC, you watch them throughout the season. Offense is not there, but the defense is good. It's like, wow, this is a different KC vibe. Like it's the defense that's got them to this point. And even against Baltimore, they started off very strong moving the football, but they didn't do anything in the second half of that game. So I think just Spags, the experience that he has, the adjustments that he's made in the second half as well. I do believe that this is going to be a low scoring game, and I don't know how many possessions there'll be on either side. Both, I think, running backs on each team will have a lot of success running the football. So I like the under in this. And just to give a little bit more love to KC, second in points allowed, second in yards allowed, fourth in passing yards allowed. They were third in yards allowed per attempt. Quarterback completion percentage, top 10. Passing touchdowns, top 5. Sacks, second. All better than San Fran in all of those categories in terms of pass defense. So, and San Fran, no slouch. Like, they're in the top 10 in a lot of those categories too, but yeah, KC just has the edge. So this is two really good defenses, even though we look at, both offenses and we think that they can shoot out. I know the public's going to want to hammer the over, because, both teams are exciting, but I'm with Mike and I'm with the model. It's been pretty consistent all year long. I think the under is the play here.
Yeah, I like that tidbit that you shared about the second half, because look, we've seen this 49ers team. They've rallied back. They've been scoring the most in the second half of games. So it will be something to keep watch of when it comes to that. So let's dive into some specific props here as far as game planning goes. You mentioned how good this KC defense has been all year and how good they're going to be. So the run game, crucial, I think, for both teams. We were kind of talking a little bit about that before. Mike, what kind of props are you looking at headed into this game, specifically when it comes to those rushing yard props?
Yeah, first one right off the bat, Isaiah Pacheco on the ground. You can get it 66.5, 67.5. It started out higher in the week, 68, 69.5. But then there's concerns that Jerick McKinnon was going to get more involved because we're hearing he's practicing. Guys, I don't care if Jerick McKinnon is getting more involved. This is Isaiah Pacheco. He had 24 rushing attempts for about 85 yards in the first game against Miami. Then he had over 90 rushing yards against Buffalo. And then he goes against Baltimore's defense, goes 24 for 68 tough yards. He had 2 games into the regular season over 100 yards. He's facing a 49ers defense that is 15th in DVOA per Aaron shots here, run defense. Volume is going to occur. He's going to be active on the ground. He's going to get a ton of rushes, and he should be able to get a couple second-tier rushes by breaking through the line here. Pacheco, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm going over. The line has fluctuated. Would not be surprised, Abby, to see it at 70.5 by the time kickoff comes on Sunday.
I like it. Chris, what are you riding with?
I couldn't agree more on this. Just want to add, like, Aaron Jones topped 100 yards on 18 carries against them. David Montgomery had 93 yards on 15 carries. Detroit had 182 rushing yards in that game, and they got away from the run in the second half. And to Pacheco, 63 carries for 250 rushing yards in the 3 playoff games. It's 21 attempts per game, 68 plus in all 3 games. I also like the over 15.5 rushing attempts for him. He's had 15 plus in 12 of his last 15 games. And the games that he didn't, two of the games that he didn't, he was, coming back from an injury, and one he left with an injury. It's 15.5 now. You can do an alternate line over at Bet365 and just do 15 plus if you wanted to. I like the total yards on him at 85.5 as well. He only had 13 catches as a rookie, but 40 plus here as a sophomore, 25 grabs on 26 targets in his last 7 games. And he's topped 88 total yards in 4 straight and 5 of 6. And I couldn't agree more with Mike's analysis on Jerick McKinnon. We don't even know if that guy's going to be active, and he is not a between the tackles type of runner. He may cut into some of the work that Pacheco's had through the air, like maybe a catch or two on a third down situation or inside the red zone, but he is not going to rack up. I would be shocked if he had more than 2 or 3 carries in this game. Pacheco has been a big part of this offense down the stretch. So I am riding with Pacheco. On the other side, I like CMC at over 89.5 as well. It's a very high number.
Like him in this game, right?
I just think, there's a lot. It's kind of chalky. His touchdown props at minus 300, but each game he's had 2 touchdowns. I certainly think at one point you could really make a strong case for him being the MVP of the entire season. And I think at plus 450 using our prop shop for him to be the MVP is interesting as well. I know it's a quarterback award, but this offense is going to run through CMC. Just talked about the passing statistics from KC, but they're 25th in yards allowed per carry. They're 18th in rushing yards allowed over 100. It's 118 per game. They're 27th in rush DVOA. They're 5th against the pass. CMC 98 and 90 on the ground in the last 2 games, 37 carries, 90 plus in 7 of his last 8. And I mentioned the struggles that Purdy has had. Come on, keep it simple here, Shanahan. You went out and spent all that capital, gave it all up for CMC for this game, this reason right here. They didn't have a strong run game when they played KC a few years ago, the game that you alluded to. They had a lead. They couldn't run the ball and kill at the clock. KC came back and scored a bunch of points. It's not going to be the case here. CMC, whatever you want to do, zone runs, outside runs, little quick screens. He's going to be a weapon this game. So I like both running backs to have a day.
I like it. Hey, this is a good little tidbit that our very own Aaron Schatz posted about. He said the Chiefs defense allowing over 50 yards on the ground to opposing QBs in back-to-back games. So that's a nice little stat when you're talking about the rushing yard props for Brock Purdy. But I know you've got your eye on the rushing yard props, Mike, for Patrick Mahomes. Let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah, Mahomes, if the Chiefs receivers can't separate, what does that translate to, Abby? It's more rushing attempts and more rushing attempts for the running back and the quarterback. Mahomes this year set career highs in both rushing attempts 75 and rushing yards 389. He's now going against a San Francisco defense that's led the 10th most rushing yards to opposing quarterbacks. In the 3 Super Bowls that he's been in here, 41, 33, and 29 rushing yards. So he's gone over this number, which is 25.5. Each of those situations, including last year, where his last 2 attempts were -5 and -2 yards. So Mahomes likes to scramble. He's active. He'll do whatever it takes to win. The receivers are not separating. Travis Kelce, I think, is going to be limited to a certain extent, certainly in key moments, because the Niners know that's where he's going. So he just takes off, and his rushing lane's all over the place. This year, he had 9 games, I believe, of over 28 or more rushing yards, and he had 4 games of over 41 or more rushing yards. So he's been running more than he's ever been. He has a favorable matchup. He's done it in the Super Bowl. Checks across the board, over 25.5 Patrick Mahomes on the ground.
Chris, you are such a Swiftie, so I have to ask, what are your Travis Kelce takes for this game? What kind of impact is this guy going to have? Because I'm
actually not a Swiftie. Maybe I'm getting labeled as a Swiftie because our novelty props. It's all good. I'll take it. Whatever. I don't care. I'll tell you what.
Get a little secret out of you by saying that. I thought you were going to be like, "Yep, total Swiftie. Let's go." No, but seriously, Travis Kelce, we got to talk about him on the field. He's been, the talk of the town with everybody. But he's been so good in the playoffs. What are we going to see from him?
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing. Swift being shown on TV does not bother me at all. I don't understand. 25 seconds is what she was on, how long she was on the screen in the last game. Yeah. That stuff doesn't bother me. Show more Swift, show more Jason Kelce after the plays. I don't care. I'm here for all of that stuff. I do have a Swiftie novelty prop over at FTNBets. It's free. We just tweeted it out if you want to check that one out. But Mike said, limit Travis Kelce. It does make me a little nervous because Randle's a super sharp dude. And I get it. The focus is going to be on Travis Kelce. But you guys, come on. The focus has been on Travis Kelce for the last 17 games with Patrick Mahomes. Yeah. you can't tell me that the focus wasn't on Travis Kelce last week. Kyle Hamilton, one of the best young players in the game. And what did Travis Kelce do? He had 11 catches on 11 targets for 116 yards and a beautiful touchdown on a great throw from Patrick Mahomes. Look at these numbers. And it's not just this, but we have such a large sample size of Travis Kelce. 17 playoff games with Patrick Mahomes. 133 grabs, over 1,500 yards, and 18 touchdowns. That's like a full season. Imagine that for a season. That's an unbelievable campaign. 7.8 catches per game, 89 receiving yards per game, over a touchdown per game. His last 12 playoff games, even better than that, 98 receiving yards per game, 8.6 catches, and again, over a touchdown. He's had 70-plus yards in 12 straight playoff games, and 6.5 catches. I like the catches more than the yards because he hasn't shown that explosiveness really this year. At 10.6 yards per catch was one of the lowest marks of his career, but 11.4 here in the playoffs and 23 grabs and 262 yards. He's just going to get targets, whether it's some doubles, it doesn't matter. He's going to get looks. This offense it's changed over the last few weeks. It's just 3 players that really get the ball.
Yeah.
It's Kelce, it's Rice, and it's Pacheco. So if Kelce throws the ball, or if Mahomes throws the ball 30 to 35 times, and I think that's a low number. We think we have him for more than that in our projections. Kelce's going to get double-digit targets. Rice is going to get double-digit targets. So 6.5 grabs. If you're not feeling me on the yards, because San Fran's a good tackling team, they got some really good players in the middle of the field. They're really strong at defending the middle of the field, much better than KC. But I like Kelce here to get his looks, continue to eat. So over 6.5 and over 70.5 for me.
All right, we've been big Brandon Ayuk fans this season. Mike, you have a take on him. Are we still big fans? I think we can be fans whether we necessarily agree he's going to hit the over or not. I'm not really sure. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I love Brandon Ayuk. He had a breakout season. He's been fantastic, but it doesn't mean that he's necessarily going to go crazy in this game. I'm going to marry the props like we talk about to how I think the game is going to go. We like the under here. Even with Chris, if the Kelce prop hits, absolutely. On the offense for San Francisco, they're going to spread it around. It's going to be Debo. It's going to be Kittle. It's going to be Christian McCaffrey. So I'm going under on Brandon Ayuk's receiving yardage here. You're facing a Kansas City Chiefs defense. It's at 61.5 right now. That is number 5 this year in DVOA against opposing wide receiver ones. So Snead has been fantastic. Ayuk is the wide receiver 1. They move Debo around a lot more. It's still Brock Purdy. I get it. It's just teams are limiting that he is going to make that big play. So it is a grinded out, lower trending score game on the under. So I'm not hitting Ayuk. I don't think he's solving what has been sort of a reserved playoff production against an elite pass defense that has been particularly tough, Abby, against opposing wide receiver ones.
Nice. I like it. Chris, any final thoughts on that one?
Man, Mike's super sharp. I had it in my notes too. I had it exactly in my notes that they were number 5 against wide receiver ones. Jarius Snead is legit, right? I saw the play that he had on Flowers near the goal line to punch that ball out. Dude's awesome. And they're number 25 against wide receiver 2s. I think it's going to be a Debo game. His catch props at 4.5. I think he's going to, he was a big player in the game last time that they played against Detroit. He had nearly 10 catches, and then he had 2 catches on basically 2 possessions in that first game before he left with an injury. And all we hear all season long is that this offense struggles without Debo. Can't move the ball without Debo. My goodness. Purdy doesn't know how to play quarterback without Debo, so he's going to rely on Debo. It's a good call by Mike here. Ayuk under.
That was crazy. We talked about that last week. Like his prop was so low, the yardage. I think it was like 10 yards or something, because we knew we weren't really sure how he's going to come back from the injury and everything and deal with that. And he just went off. So there shouldn't be question in regards to how he plays in this one or contributes. Okay. Before we let you guys go, it's the Super Bowl. So of course we have fun, exotic props that we can play with. Usher, baby. Let's go. Chris, I know you're such a big Usher fan. Mike, how are you an Usher fan? You look like an Usher fan.
Yeah, I'm not a huge Usher fan, but I don't mind his early music.
I leave it up to my kids. My wife and my daughter get involved in the halftime. That's usually when I play ping pong with my son downstairs, but that's fine.
That's fair. Okay, do we have any good halftime show props? These are so fun. I love them.
I'll defer to Chris on this one. Go ahead, Chris.
Before we give an Usher prop, I don't know. I'm going to talk about MVS for just 1 second. And this may be even more ludicrous than Usher. I should have brought it up earlier.
Whoa, okay, he threw that in there. Ludicrous Usher.
Yeah.
I like that.
You may see Luda. with
We
Usher.
might.
So MVS, I just think that there's a pretty big edge here. And when Mike talks up about how the focus should be on Kelsey, and it should be, even though I like his props, we should see a lot of one-on-one with MVS, and he doesn't leave the field. And I know he's dropped everything. He dropped everything in the regular season. In big times, like big moments as well in prime time. Everybody saw it. High ADOT. In fact, he's got the highest average depth of target among any wide receiver with 41 targets this season at 17.67. That's part of why he has some drops. It's difficult when your average depth is, 18 yards down the field. You're not going to haul in all of those. But over the past couple of games, I mean, he's caught those balls. Mahomes has leaned on him. He's got over 100 receiving yards in the playoffs. Got 100 in the last 2 games. He had a long catch against Baltimore, 32 to ice the game. He had a long catch of 32 against Buffalo. He's had longs this year of 21, 46, 37, and 34. So it only takes one grab. You hope that he hauls in that one target or two that Mahomes throws the ball down the field to him. But again, maybe stacking boxes with Pacheco if they have some, success running the football, doubling Kelsey. What does this leave? Like, we're not talking about Kadarius Toney. We're not talking about Sky Moore. We're not talking about anybody else really outside Rashee Rice. MVS, a target or two. As for Usher, I was trying to have some fun for
important.
Most important. I did some Usher research. I've never been to an Usher concert. I'm not gonna lie. As a young buck, I did dance to "You Make Me Wanna," in the mid '90s.
I would have paid to see that.
The mid to late '90s. I just I'm a sucker for the dance floor. That's a long shot at 23-1 to be the first song. The research that I when I was digging, he usually starts his concerts with "My Way." I just don't feel like that's a good vibe to start with "My Way." I don't know. I just not really feeling it. I don't think it's going to be because I don't believe he's going to open up with Luda and Little John. I think he's going to want to open up with one of his songs, solo song. So OMG at plus 145. It's got a catchy beat, a catchy hook. Abby's losing it. Mike is like, what are we talking about? But the bass, the beat, the fans, everybody is going to be, let's go. I think that's how he starts the show. I think we'll see an appearance from Alicia Keys and maybe Ludacris, but I don't know. Have some fun with it. Like, don't get too crazy. But it is available over at FanDuel with a couple Taylor Swift props for you Swifties out there.
Of course. I mean, there's all those. There's some really funny ones too. We'll post a couple shorts this week, kind of teasing those because there's a lot of good ones. I was surprised to see some of them. Hey, Mike, finally before we bounce, if you could choose anybody to do the Super Bowl halftime performance, who would it be? If you're not so much Usher, give us somebody.
You want controversy? It's very simple. Bring back Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake. I don't know why we haven't done it yet.
I think it's like 20 years to the day, roughly.
Think about the betting implications. Will they? Won't they? I mean, this would be crazy. Bring it back. It would be the highest rated one ever. I'm telling you right now.
Oh, man. Nothing like the Super Bowl in Vegas, guys. I'm fired up.
Before we wrap,
okay,
we got to get it. I need to know who wins the Super Bowl. We didn't really talk about that.
Oh, my God. What are we doing?
Who do you think wins?
Chiefs.
Ooh. Niners.
Ooh.
I just I don't know. It's so interesting. Like, they're favored, right? And then everyone's going Chiefs. And then a part of me is like, I like the dog, but the Chiefs have won. I just give me Niners.
One thing I will say is that I don't believe that Kansas City should be an underdog. I don't think that
I was surprised by that.
Because they have Mahomes. The defense is playing good. They went into Buffalo as dogs and won. They went into Baltimore as dogs and won. Now this is a neutral place where I don't know if this matters, but Mahomes is 4-0 in Las Vegas playing. I get it. It's against the Raiders, but he has, some familiarity playing there inside the division. I'm with Mike. I think Kansas City, Reed, edge, Spagnuolo, edge, Mahomes, edge. Purdy has been a little bit shaky. So I'm going to lean with Kansas City in this game. And one thing in the article, we gave some picks and some props, talk about special teams. Number 6 in DVOA, Kansas City, 25 to San Fran. Like, there's experience with Butker. There's Tommy Townsend, who's just every kick is, inside the 5 or inside the 10. These things matter in what will be a game that's, a 1.5 spread. So I'm going to take the experience. And Shanahan hasn't shown me that he can win that big game. So we'll see.
I know. I think I'm betting a little. That's more like coming from my heart rather than necessarily the head. But I don't know. I would like to see San Fran win. All right, guys. This was fun. Thank you to everybody that's tuned in all season long. We appreciate your support more than you know. And we've enjoyed just kind of interacting with you guys. Oh, I'm sad, but this is going to be a good weekend, and we'll have plenty more content on FTN. I mean, we're always pumping out the content, more sports to come. But everybody enjoy the Super Bowl. If you're going to Vegas, stay safe. Wave to me. I'll wave to you. Always love finding new friends. And for you two, I'll FaceTime you as you hang out, wherever you're going to be watching the game. But for Abby Labar, Mike Randle, Chris Meaney, one final time for the NFL Betting Show. Thank you guys for tuning in on FTN Network.